Well, hey, y'all. That's how we say hello here in Texas. Welcome back to another episode of My Weekly Marketing, where we dive into the nitty-gritty of what really works in the world of marketing for your small business. Today, we're unlocking the secrets of one of the most visually captivating platforms out there, Pinterest. And we've got a special guest who's about to spill all the tea on how to turn those pins into profits. But before we jump in, I've got a little Pinterest quiz for you today. Are you ready? Here goes. What percentage of Pinterest users say they'll use the platform to plan future purchases? 10%, 30%, 50%, or 80%? The answer, 80%. A whopping 80% of Pinterest users are actively planning purchases, making it a gold mine for businesses looking to reach potential customers who are already in a buying mindset. You maybe thought that Pinterest was just for crafters or planning a wedding. But if that's the case, we'll change your mind today. As my guest today, Sue Kreitz, points out, there are many categories on Pinterest that you maybe didn't even think about. Pinterest's superpower is its ability to tap into users' intent and inspiration. Unlike other social media platforms where people go to connect and be entertained, Pinterest users are often in discovery mode. They're actively searching for ideas, products, and solutions, which makes them more open to ads and suggestions. So ads on Pinterest often feel more like helpful content rather than intrusive marketing, leading to a higher engagement and conversion rate. Sue is a Facebook and Pinterest ad strategist, and she knows Pinterest like the back of her hand. She's helped countless businesses get real results with Pinterest ads. So grab your favorite notebook, settle in, and let's get ready to unlock some serious marketing mojo. Here's my talk with Sue. Hey, Sue, thanks for being here today. So I love to know what your story is. So how did you get involved in Pinterest and Pinterest ads in particular? And how did you begin life as an entrepreneur?
That's a little bit of a loaded question, perhaps. Entrepreneurial journey. There's always been a little of that in me all along, but I was looking for something that I could do on my own terms, in my own schedule, take my work with me, be there for my family who was out of state from where I am, and something that I enjoyed. There's so many things you can do, but what uses my skills and what's something I would enjoy doing long term? I fell into or I stumbled across Pinterest marketing. I'll just leave it at that. And I found organic Pinterest marketing with a gal who taught an amazingly in-depth and comprehensive course. And I really enjoyed it. Ads were included in that course, but I started with organic because I think ads are terrifying to run if you've never run them. Right? You're spending someone else's money in addition to them paying you. And I take that very seriously. So I started with organic. I really enjoyed it. Early on, I had a client ask if I would run ads for her. And she was willing to be my guinea pig, where I would just run them. She doesn't pay me, right? Just pay the ad spend. And I got into those and I really enjoyed it. It wasn't as terrifying as I thought. And she was very gracious. And so I just eventually picked up more ads clients and then pivoted to ads. So it's just, ads just kind of fit a different skill set and a different, it's a little maybe more focused on strategy all along. And I really enjoy the strategy part.
Yeah, me too. That is what I live for. Me and my whiteboard. So do you feel like Pinterest ads, so if somebody is on Pinterest already, do you feel like ads is the next step, or do you feel like that, like you said, that we really should be focusing more on organic Pinterest? At what point do you run to ads versus staying in organic, or how do you know at what point you should be running ads versus staying in organic?
Well, I think the biggest thing is if you're going to use Pinterest organically, you definitely need to be a content creator, whether it's blog posts, podcasts, YouTube, but anything that you can put on your website is ideal. So if you're not into content creation, then ads really need to be the way to go, because with Pinterest, you need just a consistent supply, consistent stream of fresh URLs that go out onto the platform, because Pinterest just values that, and it will prioritize content that is new and fresh. No one likes the same magazine when you go into the doctor's office. So same thing for Pinterest. They always want to be pushing something new. So if you can't do that, or you don't want to do that, or you don't have time, then ads are just a very easy way to use the platform. However, the advantage of organic is that once your pins are on there, they stay there forever. Ads are the same way, that your ads can stay on the platform forever. However, once you stop putting money behind those pins, eventually they're going to fizzle. So if you want long-term return from the platform where your pins just build up over time and continue producing traffic, then organic is a great way, but not everyone is set up for that. Ads are a great complement to organic as well. And if you're looking for things like you just want to grow your email list, ads are a great way to accelerate that.
So, first of all, I am the person that kind of does catch up with social media. So I will, which is terrible. So you're saying that it's better to go ahead and put something out on a consistent basis if you're going to be focusing on Pinterest. Now, let me quickly add that Pinterest isn't right for everybody, but it is a very valuable tool if it does really fit your demographic and if you have the bandwidth to do it. I love that Pinterest is basically a search engine.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it's out there, it stays out there, sort of like YouTube in a way, that it's out there and it remains there. But what I was going to say is that what I've done wrongly probably is I'll say, oh my gosh, I've got all these blog posts and I need to get them up on Pinterest. So I'll put up 15 of them at once, and probably not the right approach. Is that what you're saying?
It is. It's better to do less consistently than in clumps. And for two reasons. One is that slow, it's like Google with SEO on your website, where that slow build is just necessary. When you do clumps, you haven't been building all along. So when you push that content out, it's really not going to go too far. And so with any clumping, Pinterest you have the potential to get flagged for spam. So with Pinterest, anything kind of in bulk is, depending on how sensitive the spam filter is at the time, you can just put yourself in a little bit of a pickle. Now, 15 pins So it's just something to be aware of.
Okay. That is definitely good to know. So let's talk a little bit about who's on Pinterest.
Just about any niche. The best way to know is your audience on Pinterest. Type in the search bar for what you do, maybe a pain point that you address with your offerings, and see what shows up. And if your content is a good fit with what shows up, then that's a good sign that you're in the right spot. So a lot of people think, home decor, wedding, recipes, right? That's all that's on Pinterest. Au contraire. So really anything that Pinterest is a search and discovery platform where people are looking for answers. And so if you can solve a problem for them, then your content is going to be of interest to people. So it sounds kind of ordinary, but anything from 5 tips to time management, or easy ways to, it's just like you would with what draws people in with a post, right? What is that hook that gets them? Same thing with your pin title that draws people in. The idea of the pin is for people to click on it and then click through to your website. So anything, just about any topic is on Pinterest. The more niched you are, obviously the smaller the audience, but a big way to tell how plentiful your topic is on the platform is definitely use a search bar. Just like Google, it'll have the drop down of other longer term keywords. Type those in, see what kind of results you get, and the more results you get in that drop down are kind of an indication of how deep the search is. Just like Google, the more niched you get, the shorter that drop down is going to be. So same thing on Pinterest. There's other ways to kind of check, but that's a good place to start the search bar.
one of the things I really like about Pinterest is that it's when people go there, they're early in, they're in that discovery mode, right? So oftentimes they're looking for a solution. So in terms of what I call my trail to the sale, like you go from awareness to consider to compare to evaluate to buy and so on through the trail, the customer journey map, it's very early on. However, do they still have rich pins on
They do.
Pinterest? Okay.
Yes.
So it's been a few years since I've run ads on there.
That's all right.
Um, so with rich pins, people can discover product, but also purchase it too. So it's really convenient. You can click right through and buy something. Let's say you're looking for, well, you mentioned weddings. Let's say you're looking for a mother of the bride dress or something to wear to a friend's wedding or a baby gift or whatever. You can click right through and buy it, which I think is really makes that platform so interesting.
It is. And Pinterest is making it more e-commerce friendly all the time. That is, they really have different features that allow you to reach people in those different parts of their journey, from becoming aware of who you are, to getting them down your funnel, which is just merely the path someone takes from the time they become aware of you to the end point of becoming a client or a customer. And so you just have to meet people where they are, because they're in different stages of that process. And so Pinterest really is set up to reach people in all of those places, because like you said, search and discovery, Pinterest users are planners. And so they're going to be looking well in advance of what they need. However, it doesn't mean that there aren't people who are ready to act right then and there. But because people are looking for solutions, they are more likely to act. So like, great place for an email list growth, because they need that list of, 10 time management tools. They're going to sign up for your email list. So purchases, it all depends on where they are in that buyer journey, but Pinterest makes it very doable to reach people at all levels.
I love that. Now, I would add that Pinterest is still primarily women, correct? In terms of demographic percentage?
It's grown actually a lot with men. And it's funny because a lot of my ads, it'll be, it can be surprising as to how much the male demographic fits in there with that. But depends on the niche. Again, depends on the topic, because you will find plenty of more topics related more to men. And the men demographic is the percentage of men that are new. If you have a percentage of users that are new to the platform, the percentage of those people that are men has grown. So it's definitely diversifying. Female is still definitely the more of the demographic, but men are on there too.
So in terms of strategy, how would I know if I have a small business, which I do, how would I know when to run a Pinterest ad versus a Meta ad or a Google ad, maybe a search ad, or how do you kind of sort that out for your clients?
I don't deal with Google ads, so that one's a kind of a different niche. I'd say definitely if you're a local business, Google ads are a great fit, along with, I'd say Facebook is Meta ads are a better fit for you than maybe Pinterest. Local can be hard on Pinterest. It's a little, it's not impossible. It's just maybe not always the best platform. That would be definitely something you have to weigh out, where I have to learn more details. So to answer your question of it really, honestly, for some businesses, it's going to be very straightforward. Other ones, it's going to be splitting hairs a little bit. But I think for the biggest answers, it depends. So maybe rephrase your question for me, and I'll dive into that.
Well, that is probably the best answer we get, because it really depends on the ideal customer that you're targeting. It depends on what you're selling. Yes. It might be better for some other than others. I mean, I can see that there still is the impression that you go to Pinterest to prepare for a holiday or plan a wedding or a baby shower or event like that. So I think because people have that impression of it, I would imagine that those types of brands probably do a little better on it than, say, a motorcycle part, or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
So,
yes. Yes, exactly. And the other thing to consider, definitely time sensitive, such as an event or a webinar or live webinar, something like that, is definitely save that for Meta because
Okay.
Pinterest is really long term. Evergreen is best. You can still do like a Black Friday or sale or something like that. That's just, everyone's on there then. But definitely time sensitive. That's a Meta avenue for that one.
Gotcha. Gotcha. And it is top of funnel though. So,
Yeah.
which Meta isn't necessarily. I mean, you can be on Instagram and scroll and say, and find out about an event, maybe a webinar that's coming up, and you think, oh, well, that's interesting, but you probably aren't searching on that platform for a webinar, unlike
Exactly.
Pinterest ads or on Google. You have a problem and you want it solved. So that's a whole different approach to advertising. And I think sometimes people don't think about that when they're putting ads together. They think about, oh, I want to be here and I want to be there, and we just want to get the word out. But most of us do not have limitless budgets for
That's
running
right.
ads.
That's right.
So I think really being, like you said, strategic about where you put your money, and where you run your ads is going to make a big difference in the results you get.
It is. And it's also just there's going to be some things that you don't know until you try. And some
Yes.
people do better on Pinterest and some people do better on Meta. And they don't always know that until you try. But there's also um, no cost. You're not going to really be able to compare apples to apples because they're different platforms that are set up differently, social
Mhm.
versus functional. And also so then the user behavior is different. So is your offer something that is really a problem solving thing? Or although Meta, you have that as well. I think one of the biggest things is whichever platform you use is to use the campaign types that each platform offers to get them in the top of funnel. So for example, on Meta, a video view campaign is a great billboard effect to get people in the top of funnel. Pinterest, you could do the same thing. You could do a traffic campaign, anything like that, that gets them just a cheap way to get yourself out there. And then you work them down the funnel. So both can work. However, yeah, Pinterest is um, definitely a place for people to discover, is for sure.
Mm.
And because they're
Gotcha.
on the platform, they tend to be a little more likely to act on something because they are looking for that solution versus Meta is kind of more of an impulse thing. Oh, that's
Mm.
interesting. Let me click through. Versus
Hmm.
Pinterest, they're really going to you're going to hit a pain point for someone.
And they're going to be more likely to buy or convert at that point,
Right.
right? Mm.
Exactly. And the thing to remember too is that both platforms work together. So even if you use Pinterest organically and you get very nice traffic from that, assuming that you stay consistent with your organic, that information is going to feed your Meta pixel on your website, and then you can retarget those people on Meta, and so vice versa. So all of
Ah.
the two platforms work together, and so who's going to look like the hero with that final click of the action taking? It all depends. Customers need multiple touch points,
Mhm.
and your whole marketing strategy reaches those people. So it's a cumulative effect versus, oh, I only use Meta because that's where I get my customers. Well, really? Where else are they seeing you? And
Yeah.
so that's just something to bear in mind.
I love that you are thinking big picture with the ads too. It's not just, like you said, one, it's multiple touch points, not just one.
Exactly.
Um,
Exactly.
yeah. Are you able to tightly uh, tailor a Pinterest ad in terms of demographic and regional areas, or like you mentioned earlier, it's should be national? Can you go as tight as you can with meta ads and zero in on zip codes and urban centers and that sort of thing?
You can. You're not. I got to tell you that Meta is definitely a really good spot to really hone in on very specific. Their targeting can be so very specific. It's just a little crazy. With targeting, typically, unless you're local, you'll kind of keep it national, but not necessarily because you might have an offer that is kind of maybe common to New England or Pacific Northwest or big cities. So I'm only going to target New York. I'm going to target LA, Miami, depending on where perhaps I always hate to exclude, but maybe where the income is a little higher, you're going to maybe just focus on those locations. So you can target by location on Pinterest, but there definitely needs to be a reason behind doing that versus just keeping things broad. And then narrow down. You can always really with Pinterest, you kind of cast the net wide and then narrow down from there. When you're analyzing campaigns in Meta, it's very different than the Pinterest. You really get granular when you're optimizing a campaign of what you can cut out, how to tweak. It's a very different setup. The bones of ads are the same, but the platforms are set up very differently.
Okay. And there's multiple types of ads too on Pinterest, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Just like Meta, you have different, it depends on the goal. Is your goal traffic just to get people through to your site? Is it to convert to an email sign up, to a checkout, that kind of thing? So you want to choose the campaign type that correlates with what you want to do. So if you just want the billboard effect, then video view is a great way to do that. Traffic is another one. So just lining that up. And that's a key element with your campaigns, is making sure you know your goal and then using the features of the platform to match up with that goal.
Okay. So what's the budget range that somebody who wants to run Pinterest ads would be looking at?
Most times the answer starts with, it depends, because it really does.
Yeah.
The bigger the ask, the more budget you need. So traffic is going to cost you more than just a billboard effect video view. An email sign up is going to cost more than traffic. A sale is going to cost more than an email sign up. So the more you're asking of someone, the higher your cost is going to be. So really what I usually try and determine with budget is, if you know the cost of, we'll just do email sign up. If you know the cost of an email sign up, then you know, like say it's $2 a sign up. Mm-hmm. I want 100 signups. Well, then you know you need $200 over. Like if you want 100 signups a month, each one costs you $2. Then you need $200 a month for your budget. Mm-hmm. So until you know those benchmarks, then you have to really test. However, I highly suggest, really, unless you're willing to put like $500 a month on the platform for ad spend, you might want to wait. It's just giving. You can do it. Don't get me wrong. You can do it for less budget. Just understand that it's going to be slower, because if it costs you $2 a sign up and you're only spending $10 a day, you're not going to make as much progress as quickly as if you spend $30 a day. So it's just going to slow that down. So if you're patient and you're doing that, running ads yourself, and you're like, that's fine, then great. When you're paying someone to do it for you, for me, it makes more sense to get the most out of your budget, right? Like if you want to reach your goals and you just want a total of 500 email signups and then you're done running ads, I'd push that into a shorter time frame because you're also paying someone at the same time. So,
right.
Does that make sense?
Makes total sense. Yeah. And maybe there's some events or something that if you were running where you are going to want more traffic quicker, then you're going to want to put a little more money in it, versus if you are just running list building ads in the background, you could probably get by with a smaller budget, I'm assuming.
Exactly. And once the campaigns get optimized, your cost is going to get better. But one thing to also remember with either platform is that the bigger your budget, the more options you have. So with testing, you can't ask Pinterest or Meta to do the same thing with a $10 budget as you're able to get with a $50 budget a day, right? That your money gets spread thin. It's like going into a candy store. If I have $2, my selection of what I'm going to get is a lot less than my selection if I have $10 going in. I don't know if that made sense at all. Yep. It's just, I can only buy, I can't buy the $2.50 candy bar. So, I have to try this. And so it's a matter of testing. I can't, everything in an ad costs money. And so the less money you have, the fewer options you have to choose from for testing. Are we going to test different audiences? And it can get, I'm going to make it a little more complicated if I dive a little deeper than that, but just kind of leave it at that. The more the more, just the way the campaign is structured, the more budget you have, the more flexibility you have, the more options you have, the quicker you can test.
Right,
as well.
right.
Yeah.
Which makes it so necessary to understand your cost per acquisition and also your customer value, how much each customer is worth for you. And that's something that I've worked with a lot of clients that don't know those necessarily know those numbers. But if you're spending, $10 to acquire a customer and your customer is only worth $15 to you, so that's how much an average customer spends during their lifetime with you, then it's going to be less of a deal. But if they're spending $500 or $1,000 with you on average, then you can afford to spend a little more, right? I'll trade, $50 for acquisition for $1,000 any day of the week, right? So
absolutely. Yeah,
really
you hit it on the nose.
Mm-hmm.
Because you say, oh, I want the cheapest cost. Well, I'd rather have a quality lead than a bunch of riffraff coming through and then having to sit through that. So it's worth fewer quality leads is worth more than cheap quantity of leads. And also the other thing to remember too is in this process of cost is the better your page converts, the better your funnel converts, even long term, not just the ad. The better your landing page converts, the cheaper your cost is going to be. So if you can convert if your email, like your landing page for your email sign up converts at 20%, your leads are going to cost more than if you can get that page to convert at 30%. So part of my job as a strategist is to say, hey, what's your normal conversion rate? Okay, we're not reaching that. Where's the disconnect? Or, well, that's a great conversion rate. How can we make it better? So I'm going to, try this. You can test landing pages. That's a part of what you can do with ads. Just understand you're paying to test, but it's a faster way to find out those answers. Just know that you definitely are paying for it. But if you can get your conversion rate on that landing page better, great. If you can convert more people from your email list into sales, the higher everything, the more you can tweak and fine tune and get your conversion rates up, the more profit you make and you're just making more out of your time and marketing budget.
Right. No one likes to leave money on the table.
That's right. Yeah. And you are. Yeah.
And it's always amazed me how much a little tweak can make a big difference sometimes.
Yes.
And so split testing a landing page is a really smart idea, especially if you're investing a lot of money in ads, because, like you said, a small, even 5% or 10% can make a big difference in terms of your conversion rate and also how much money you have to spend on ads to reach your goals.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing with ads is that if you are, there's going to be a point that you have an offer that's new. Say you have a course that you're launching. It's new. You don't know if the sales pages work, and you can try that organically, and that just takes time. But if you have a launch, you're kind of in a pickle because you kind of need to know, is it working or not? And so when you're doing the launch for the first time, you do have to allow yourself some grace and allow the testing and allow your time to figure that out. So a lot of times with a launch, that might be time sensitive, and that's going to be a meta platform, option. Unless if you use a webinar, you can still have, because if it's time sensitive, if it's an evergreen webinar, then knock yourself out and Pinterest can be your way to go.
Okay. That's good to know for sure. There's a lot involved in this. I could see where people would want to hire someone like you.
It's do I want to fix my own car? Oh gosh, no. I could, but I'd make a mess of it. And so if you have, and people coming from Meta, I've had this over and over where I have clients, they come from Meta, they try Pinterest on their own, and they're like, I have no idea what I'm doing. Right. And I can see, I go in and I can imagine before I even have access to their account, I know what their ad campaigns are going to look like every time. And so they're just set up differently. And with anything, there needs to be a game plan and a strategy involved so that you make the most of your money. You make the most. What are the assets you have to work with? What are your goals? What are your budget? They all have to work together. Are you ready for ads? And it's okay if you're not. just make sure you get all those pieces in place. But then there's also tweaking as you go, because not everything is smooth sailing as you go. Ideally, yes, but reality is ads are continual tests. The more you do them, the less there is, the more fine-tuned you get, and the better you have more information to start with. So, the more you run, the next time you launch your course, you're already going to have a lot of data to help you start from a better position. But it is really, even if you like to DIY your ads, it can be really helpful to just have someone get your foundation ready, get you set up where you're not wasting time and money figuring it out.
Right. Which makes a professional pay for itself in some cases, oftentimes.
Yeah.
So how would people learn more about you and your business?
Feel free to head to my website, withsuekreitz.com, and you can learn more about me and what I offer with ads. And I'm always happy to answer questions. Drop an email. I am on social. I have to say I'm an engager versus a poster. I got to work on that.
Yeah, me too. That is the hard part about running a service-based business. I think we are always busy with our clients' work, and our stuff gets put in the back burner, and that's the reality.
Yes. The plumber's house has the leaky faucet.
Yes, that would be my faucet is leaking as well. So no shame there.
Yeah, but I'm always happy to answer questions. I'm thrilled when someone asks, and just never. Sometimes it's just knowing, having information in your pocket just provides you the opportunity to make the right decision. It's the unknown. It's not knowing what's ahead of you. Don't miss out on an opportunity because you don't know. Ask, and then at least okay, this is a possible option, or you know what? No, I need to, focus my energy elsewhere. Just knowledge is power. Wasn't that like Schoolhouse Rock or something?
Probably.
Am I dating myself? Obviously.
I love Schoolhouse Rock. I still sing. Oh gosh, now I can't remember the words of the song, but there's a couple that will come to mind. I'm Just a Bill is one of them, and Conjunction Junction. But anyway, but
I got them all too. Yeah, good Saturday mornings.
Well, thank you so much, Sue. It's been lovely talking to you, and I will put all that we talked about in the show notes for today, including your website and your social media platforms. So
great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. It was a pleasure.
So I have to confess, I learned more than a few things about Pinterest ads today and when I should be using them. And I certainly hope that you did too. Sue is also giving away an ads converting checklist to help you plan your next promotion. She covers what you should have ready on your website and your landing page before you start running your ads. For the link to that free checklist and anything else we talked about today, visit our show notes page at myweeklymarketing.com/73. I so appreciate that you joined us today. If you found this episode helpful, please forward it to someone that could also use it. And of course, I always appreciate a review on Apple or your podcast platform of choice. Thanks so much for listening. See you next time. Bye for now.